Hi guys, this is Dan. Welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by my voice, I am still a bit under the weather, but never mind, I've been actually resting for over a week now. As you may notice, this channel hasn't been updated for over a week now. So if this cough or if this cold is still here, I can't really do anything about it other than just simply let it go one day. So I will try my best to suppress my cough in this video, but hopefully with my editing you won't notice it at all. By the way, did I tell you, I am going to share my May TBR in this video with you guys. As usual, it is nearly the start of May, and I honestly think it is the best time to talk about my plan for May, what I am going to do not just for reading but my life in general. For reading, I have a sad news here. If you know me well enough, you know that I love clearing all these subscription books first because I just don't want them to simply sit on my shelves while I am getting them on a monthly basis. It means that if I don't read it in time, the number of them will just multiplies across my shelves. But very unfortunately, I was really busy in April. I can still manage to read 4 books in that month, but one of them is actually a novella. The details, of course, I'll talk about it more in the wrap-up video, which will be up probably next week. That novella was not on my April's TBR, so I have to replace one of the original one, and that book is The Mask of Mirrors by May TBR, the first book of the Rook and Rose trilogy. It is actually the latest The Broken Binding Fantasy subscription book set, and actually I have already received the whole set of books here. This means that in May, I am going to receive the first book of a brand new fantasy trilogy. So I am thinking, rather than trying so hard to catch up with the latest installment, why not postpone the Rook and Rose series to next year? If you can remember from one of my videos, I have talked about that I actually have a plan for next year, which is to read 4 very popular fantasy trilogy. Basically doing the same as what I am doing in this year, which is to complete the Wheel of Time series and also the Echoes Saga. So for next year, I have actually picked up the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, the Bloodstone Saga by John Gwynne, maybe The Realm of the Elderling by Robin Hobb, the first trilogy, which is the Farseer, and maybe I am thinking Rook and Rose can be the last trilogy. So because they are trilogies, if I pick 4 in total, that means that there's gonna be 12 books which I'm going to read on a monthly basis. This also means that in May, I can actually read and share my thoughts about the latest The Broken Binding Fantasy subscription books, which means that it can give me some sort of flexibility and also catch up with the algorithm. Let me know, do you like this kind of arrangement? Because in my mind, I think everything would make sense like this. The next update is about the bank holidays in the UK. If you don't know or not familiar with the bank holidays in the UK, actually in May, we're gonna have 2 bank holidays, which is really generous. And also because of this, I actually have 2 very spontaneous weekend-ish holiday. I am putting it here because it is like a safety net. By the end of the month, I can still say hey guys, I'm actually on holiday and I was not able to finish all the books in May, so it is a safety net for me. But I'm also thinking currently I'm actually doing 2 videos a week, if you ignore last week because I'm a bit under the weather. If you do some calculation here, if I upload 2 videos a week and if it is a 4-week month, that means that you're gonna see me 8 times in that month. And other than the usual wrap-up and the TBR, it means that I have to come up with 6 video ideas. Honestly, when my brain is working fine, I can come up with some unique video ideas, or maybe I will be inspired by the books I am reading. Let's say the Poppy War Chinese history reference video. If I don't read those books, how can I come up with those ideas? My reading pace is too steady now. I can only finish 4 books a month, which is great, but I just don't feel like I can push it anymore. I really wanna do some more like long-form special videos, like having a theme throughout a vlog-ish videos, but I think I need to improve my reading speed much more first. So I am thinking maybe for a week in May, with the fact that I'm going to be on holiday for 2 weekends, why not just upload maybe one video that week? It will give me some time to come up with some more exciting video ideas, also giving me some time to catch up with my TBR, just in case. So if you see me only once a week in May in the future, you would know why. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Dynasty so you won't miss any fun bookish content from me. You can also support me by becoming my Patreon. I honestly want to have some more Patrons here because I can like really gear up for the benefits. Or if you prefer, you can also visit my Ko-fi. Why not also share what you're gonna read in May? I want to see did I miss some like new exciting fantasy books in May. So now we can move forward and talk about the 4 amazing fantasy books I am going to read next month. First of all, of course, I'm going to have a book from the Broken Binding Fantasy subscription. From May to July, actually they will start a new fantasy series, and it is the Riftwar Saga by Raymond E. Feist. And the first book of this series is called Magician. Can I just say this special edition is just so good. It is just so stunning, and the redesigned cover is just like screaming epic, and it is done by one of my favorite artists, Jeff Brown. To be honest, I had no idea what this series is about, and I don't think I have come across it before. But just by looking at these redesigned covers, I know that this series, other than it's about magic, it is going to be epic in some scenes. The original cover, I wouldn't say it is bad, but it is just like quite plain. You don't really know what you're gonna expect from this series. But if you come across this special edition one day in the shop, you will be curious to find out what's gonna happen because the cover just like so epic again. Like I said, I don't think I have heard about much people talking about this series, maybe because it is written quite a long time ago, and I honestly don't think I have seen these covers, the original one of course, in a shop before. By some little research, I think this series is about the magical rift between 2 worlds, and basically they are at war. What you can expect from this series is court politics, coming of age themes, war, and of course large-scale conflicts. In the first book, we are going to follow our main characters called Puck. Like Simon from the Memory, Sorrow and Thorn series, he would be rising from a kitchen boy to a magician. It is like a very classic 80s epic fantasy series with detailed world buildings, magics, prophecy, and different mythical creatures. My only worry is about the time it is written. If you are talking about 80s or 90s epic fantasy series, I can think of the Wheel of Time or maybe the Memory, Sorrow and Thorn series. I wouldn't say they are bad, but sometimes I feel difficult to get the click with them. They are usually on the slower side and with quite a lot of details, which is not really my cup of tea in a fantasy world, if I'm honest here. But I still have faith with the choice by Broken Binding, and they're usually good. I mean, look at the shelves here. And with this redesigned cover, I have a feeling that this series is going to be epic. The next book on my May TBR is a new release that I want to check out. If I finish this book, it will mean that I can conclude a fantasy series because I have the book that held her heart by Mark Lawrence, the last book of the Library Trilogy. I always struggle to introduce sequels because if I talk about the synopsis, then you will get a sense of what to expect from this book if you haven't checked out this series before. So in a very brief term, It is like a time-traveling story that is set in a massive library, where generation on generation of knowledge is stored. In this story, we are going to meet two main characters. One of them is called Library, and she is like an apprentice in this library. And the other one is called Eva. He and his siblings were trapped in this library. Through this exploration and the time traveling in this library, we will slowly understand the nature of this massive library and how our characters gonna perceive about it. Also, this adventure, I would say, is quite surprising because of the way these characters gonna be connected to each other. With how the second book ends, I am curious to find out the destiny of these two main characters. And also, by the end of the second book, there are still quite a lot of conflicts or misconceptions that needs to be settled. How they're gonna settle this kind of conflict is gonna be interesting. So I can't wait to check out how this series is gonna end. By the way, this is the very special edition. It is a special edition from the Log Library, and it means that I can conclude these shelves of books here. Then the next two books I'm going to read in May is for my 2025 reading plan. I hope that by the end of the year, I can complete these two epic fantasy series. First of all, we have The Good Old Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. And this time I'm going to read the 11th book, which is Knife of Dreams. Now, after finishing the commonly agreed Slog of the Slog, Crossroads of Twilight, I am not scared to jump back to this world again. If you don't know, the Crossroad of Twilight is like the worst book of the series because that book is thick, but nothing really happened. But moving forward to Knife of Dreams, many would agree that we will leave the slog forever and get ready for the epic ending. It has a more urgent climatic feel and the plot would move forwards, further developing our main characters. This book will pick up the important storyline from our main characters. Let's say the important decision made by Rand in the last book, what's gonna happen to Egwene, Matt's task, Perrine's task, and of course Elaine's political game. There are actually some very fun, interesting plots here. With the setup from the last couple of books, I do want to see some resolution here. Especially with Perrine. We are aware of this problem since the 9th book, and I am desperate for an answer, for a solution. I honestly can't wait to see how are we going to leave the slog and get ready to the epic ending. The last book on my May TBR is the 3rd book of the Echoes Saga, which is Relics of the Gods by Philip C. Quaintrell. If you haven't heard about this series before, it is a self-published epic fantasy series. It is a 9-book saga, but actually you can divide this into 3 trilogies. So the book I am going to read in May is actually the last book of the first trilogy of the series, if that makes sense to you. It is known for being a classic adventurous fantasy with modern pacing, blending traditional fantasy elements, let's say dragons, ancient magic, prophecy, epic battles, with a fast, accessible storytelling. This book would escalate the stakes, delivering intense battles, deepening character arcs, and significant revelation that gonna set the stage for future narratives. I'm still actually reading the 2nd book of this series, so I don't really want to look up the synopsis of the 3rd book, just to avoid any spoilers. But I think we will still follow the conflict between the Ranger, Asha, and the evil god, which is called Farnanus. And that would be a perspective from a dragon rider, if I'm not wrong here. I really love this series so far. I think that as a modern fantasy book, it is really approachable and in a sense, it is beginner friendly. I don't think you have to be like me trying to complete this whole saga in a year in one go. If you are interested in it but not too sure yet, I think it is still good to check out the first trilogy first. So here are the 4 books I am going to read in May. It is going to be a fun one because we got 2 final books of 2 fantasy trilogies and a first book of a brand new fantasy world. I honestly can't wait to complete 2 fantasy trilogies. If I need to give like a rating prediction and see if I'm right or not by the wrap up of this month, obviously, let me say something bold here. I think that the average rating of May would be quite close to 4 stars. I have a strong feeling of it. I just don't know why I have this feeling all of the books or nearly all of the books in May is going to be great. The one I am not too sure with is The Magician by Raymond E. Feist. 80s fantasy and me may not bond well, if you know what I mean. But the rest, we got like 2 final books of 2 fantasy trilogies. Can't be wrong, right? It is just like to wait and see can they be a potential 5-star. To see if I am right or not, we just need to wait by the end of May by the wrap-up video. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. If you don't want to miss anything from me, just subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all real soon. Goodbye.